Joining us now, we've got Helene Becker, a senior research analyst from Cowen and Company, specializing in the airlines and air-related industries. It's good to see you, Helene. You know, airlines haven't been that great of an investment in 2021. They're down for the year. Why do you think they've struggled more than some of the other reopening trades, like consumer stocks, retail, for instance?
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Sarah. It's good to see you again as well, and thanks for having me. So I think a big part of it is the uncertainty, right? I think in terms of not knowing what the rules are going to be when you book your trip. So people have definitely waited longer. And then flight cancellations, especially this week. I heard you and Wilfred talking about it earlier today. With Robin Hayes of JetBlue, and it's just been one thing after another all year long. And it's sort of like they can't get out of their own way. I think people want to travel, the demand is there, but it just seems one thing after the next is plaguing this group.
No, I'm glad you brought up the JetBlue conversation, because one thing I was trying to figure out, Helene, is obviously people didn't see Omicron coming. They didn't see how fast it would spread, how disruptive it would be to workforces. And that's why a lot of these airlines are canceling flights, because they just don't have the staff. But how much are the airlines themselves to blame for understaffing, for trying to operate more, given this surge in demand, with less, under the pressure of investors?
Right, exactly. So that's been the issue all year long, I think. And you've probably heard this from others as well. The airlines didn't, I guess what they got wrong in 2020 was how fast the recovery would be. And I think that recovery was so quick because the government gave people so much money. And we've talked all year long about labor shortages, not just in the airline industry, but in all service industries. And usually when you have money, you don't have time to go traveling. And when you have time, you don't have money to go traveling. Well, this year we had both. People had money and time. And so they used it to travel. And the airlines had a really hard time keeping up. Remember, in 2020, they encouraged people early in the pandemic to take leaves of absences, and some of those leaves went up to 18 months. And then they started calling people back, but people had either found other jobs or decided they didn't want to go back. So, and they've tried really hard to hire people, and the issue is entry level. It's impossible in some instances to find entry-level people. And it's not just the airlines, right? It's airports. I don't know when you traveled last, but I'm sure you noticed that stores in airports are closed. You know, the
2 weeks ago,
newsstands
it was packed,
or whatever.
the airports.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Of course, right. So, December 17th on. Packed.
Exactly. Helene, I did want to get to your top pick for 2022, which is United Airlines. Why United? What changes next year?
Right. So that's our best idea for 2022. We decided to go a little more aggressive and a little kind of thinking outside the box. Normally, I would go with something maybe perceived as safer. But in United's case, in a normalized year, they would have half their route network in international markets and half in domestic, number one. Number two, if we are correct in thinking that the summer of 2022 is going to be very strong, especially on the North Atlantic, because you're going to have 2 to 3 years worth of demand, and you're only going to be at about 80% of capacity, it means pricing is going to be very strong, I think, for the summer. I think in terms of hiring, they did something slightly different. They're hiring aggressively, as is everybody else. But when they have a letter agreement with their pilots, that basically kept all their pilots in their seats. And what they did was they just cut hours. So instead of flying like a normalized 65 or 70 hours a month, they're flying at the worst of the pandemic, 35 hours a month. And then as things have come back, they have increased hours. So they haven't had to go back and hire, although they are hiring 1,000 pilots every year this decade. And I know Scott said on a CNBC show within the last week or two that he's got 100 regional jets on the ground because he doesn't have enough pilots to fly them.
It's a big problem. Helene Becker, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We've got